Live again. We are going to try to stay live this time. How are you feeling, everybody? It's the Witchy Weather Report. Let's get the banners up. My computer shut down the instant I went live last time because, of course, right? So, hi. Welcome to the Witchy Weather Report. How are we doing? It's going to be a short report today, but we're back. I might post in a couple places, let people know I'm live. Ooh, dropping cats in the chat. How you doing? I got some folks on Instagram. All right, so that's good. All right, I got my banners up. If you're tuned in, I'm going to ask you a favor. My favor is that you share this because as soon as I went live, my computer died. Like, because Mercury retrograde, you know? And by the way, it had like a ridiculous percentage of battery. It just was like, I don't want to today. So what are you going to do? Mercury's in Gatorade. Happy Witchy Weather Report. How are we all feeling? We have a couple cats in the chat. Yes, yes, exactly. Yes. Mercury, curse words. Good meowing once again. If you dropped a cat in the chat the first time I went live, I missed you because my computer was busy dying. So let me know. My computer's alive again. Welcome to my computer's alivity. Let's get started. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Witchy Weather Report. My name is Rory Kelly. I go live the last Saturday of every month and pull cards for as many people I can get to in an hour. Today, I'll be pulling cards for as many people as I can get to, that's my chair, in 45 minutes. And why is that? That is because of Mercury retrograde. As soon as I went live, my computer decided to shut down on me, and you know what? Like, okay, I'm going to give it a pass. I'm going to give it a pass. It's Mercury retrograde. What are you going to do? Whatever. We can only go up from here, friends. If you would like me to pull a card for you, patrons get to skip the line. So if you're a patron and you left me a comment about a card, I can think of 2 patrons who did that. I will be pulling cards for you first. And otherwise, just drop a cat in the chat. That's our secret code. You can put a cat emoji or you can write the word meow. And I will know to pull a card. And the reason we do secret codes is because there's so many spammers. This has been like a big thing. I know a lot of witchy people on Instagram have been talking about experiencing this. There are a lot of spammers that as soon as you say things like pull a card or whatever, spammers come on and try to get you to get a reading from them. And it's wild. So we just use cats. You know, our secret code is cats. Meow, my phone is having issues. Well, you know, welcome to the club. We're the technical difficulties club. Grab a seat. All right, I'm shuffling right now. Hey, Emily, you've moved over. Yeah, I know. It's a technical difficulties party. What are you going to do? I'm going to try and just share this post so that people know that I am once again live because I know I lost a couple people and I don't want them to miss the Witchy Weather Report. Hey, Mary Jane, how are you doing? Been a minute. How's life? What deck am I using? Thank you for asking. I'm using the Everyday Witch Tarot deck by Elizabeth Alba and Deborah Blake. Elizabeth Alba is the artist. I think the art is just phenomenal. Deborah Blake has like made a few decks, like created a few decks, and Elizabeth Alba is the artist behind the adorableness that is the Everyday Witch Tarot. It's a super cute deck, as you can see if you're tuned in on video. If you're listening to the podcast later, I want you to know this is a live event the last Saturday of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and you too can tune in. It's on all my social media channels if you search for Sassafras Tarot. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. At some point, we will be adding TikTok to the mix, but today was not that day. All right, I think everyone came back. Came here so I could share. Thank you so much. All right. I see a few people tuned in. If you are tuned in and you would like a card, the secret code is to drop a cat emoji in the chat. I know I said that already if you have been tuned in for a minute. I just want to make sure everyone knows. Or write the word meow. And we do that because when people ask you to pull a card, we get spammers who like search for those words and start spamming everyone in the chat. And y'all don't deserve spam. So that's our secret code. If you have already asked, don't worry, I got you. Life is great. I love to see that. I love to see that. All right, so I know I have some questions for my patrons, but first I'm going to pull a card for everyone. This card is meant to be a guidepost for the coming weeks for us all. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, I want you to know that my intention as I pull this card... Oh, ha ha ha, it stopped recording. Of course it did. That's hilarious. Whatever. If you're listening to this as a podcast, I want you to know that my intention as I pull this card is that it be relevant to you wherever it finds you. You know, if this finds you years after I've done this broadcast and you're still tuned in because you're just that much of a fan, well, I love you. Thank you. And, you know, that's my intention, that this card be meaningful to you right now as you're listening. For everyone who is with us live, if you didn't notice, Mercury's in retrograde. That means there are issues with technology, as you might have noticed when you tried to tune in for this broadcast the first time I went live. Mercury in retrograde can lead to issues with technology. It can also lead to old stuff from our past coming up, especially in communications. You might get a text from an ex, or you might be tempted to text an ex. I recommend against it. You know, things from our past can come up. And this is actually healthy. It's a process that allows us to review and revisit things and process them now that hopefully we're a little older, a little wiser, we have some different perspective. So that's a good focus to have. And Mercury retrograde is like, I'm going to look back and I'm going to learn the lessons I need to learn from this. But it's annoying. I'm not going to lie to you. On Facebook and Twitch, technology gremlins are throwing a big party. 6 things are in retrograde. Yes, would you like to tell me which 6 things they are, Judith? Because you're one of our 2 resident astrologists. I know we have a lot of things in retrograde right now, which my understanding is that just means stuff's wonky and we're going to have feelings about it. That's basically, as someone who knows just enough about astrology to get herself in trouble, that's my incredibly intelligent take. Stuff is wonky. Let's pull a card for the coming weeks. This card is meant to be our guidepost for the upcoming weeks. We have the 9 of Swords. What Mercury retrograde energy, if ever a card had it. So I'm going to try and let Instagram see this as well as Facebook and everyone. I'm trying to split the difference between the 2 cameras. So the 9 of Swords, as you can see, shows a figure on a bed, kind of stressed out. There's like early morning light streamed in through the window, but has she slept? We're not sure. The 9 of Swords is often called the nightmare card. It can refer to a long night of the soul. If you've had one, you know how it feels, where you're kind of up all night stressing, and usually the outcome of a long night of the soul is that you wake up and you're like, this can't continue. I know what I have to do. Right? Whatever it is, you're like, I can't live this way. I can't spend every night up like this, worrying and stressing. So a long night of the soul leads to the results you need. However, when we have, what's the word? Where we like, see, there's the spammer. There's the spammer right there. Hang on. Let me ban them. Goodbye, spammer. You're blocked. Have a great day. Okay. So sorry for the interruption. When we get into this kind of feeling of like, we're always feeling anxiety, we're always up late nights worrying about something or having difficulty sleeping, something is always on our mind stressing us out. What we have is like this recurring situation where it's like, okay, we got to get to the other end of that forest. We have to allow ourselves to acknowledge that something has to change, and it might be us. It might be something we don't want to change. It might be that we are stuck in this situation of anxiety around something, and either we have to change our our approach, something practical we're doing, or we have to change our minds about it, right? Because sometimes it's like you can't help circumstance. Not every single thing is in our control. Sometimes circumstances are just difficult. And sometimes we have to take ourselves in hands and be like, circumstances are difficult and I'm just going to do my best to be joyful anyway, because we deserve joy. And when the Nine of Swords comes up, I'm going to ask you to look for the lesson. I'm going to ask you to look for, is there a change that I need to make? Or if I keep feeling like something's not right and it's been months and months, is there a change in my mind that I need to make? Do I need to show up for this differently? Do I need to, without betraying myself, right? I can acknowledge what I want and what will be best for me, but do I need to practice some acceptance around what is and make a resolution to grow where I am planted? Make a resolution to find happiness anyway, to lead a happy life anyway. Whatever is stressing me out will still be there in the morning, so maybe I can make a resolution to put it aside and not stress about it. Here are the things that are in retrograde. Mercury plus the outer planets. So Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. The whole menu of the outer planets. All of those things are in retrograde. So y'all, I'm going to just say it again. Stuff's wonky. Undine says, Gevald already had a moment like this Thursday evening. So that's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you, is there a resolution you can make with yourself in these coming weeks? Can you look around at your situation, and especially the things that have been stressing you out, weighing heavy on your mind? Is there a resolution you can make to change your approach or change your mind? You know, and it doesn't mean you have to be like, oh, I love this thing I hate. But it does mean that you have a responsibility to yourself and to those that you care about to try to show up for having a good life. And that might sound funny, but I don't think it should. I don't think it's healthy or desirable for us to martyr ourselves or for us to suffer for each other. No. It's healthy and desirable for us to show up for having a good life ourselves so that we can bring our best selves to the table, so that we can bring our best selves to our relationships and be a gift in other people's lives instead of being a drain or being a nothing in other people's lives. Let's show up for our happiness. Let's allow our happiness to come first, and let's be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we have to choose to be happy, right? We have to make those choices. I'm going to begin pulling cards for you. As always, patrons get to kind of skip the line on the Witchy Weather Report. I always let them know a couple days ahead that they have an opportunity to get a card pulled. So let me pull cards for my patrons. I believe the first person who commented was our friend Grayson. Grayson says, I would love a card. I will try to be conscious, but I've just gotten back home Friday night, so I may sleep a week. Grayson has been traveling the country. It's actually been really cool to watch your updates, Grayson. And I don't know if you're sleeping for a week right now or if you're tuned in, but I'm going to pull a card for you no matter what. Grayson, here is your card right now. We have the Moon. Grayson, sleeping for a week may be indicated right now because your subconscious has some things to tell you. Things have been coming up, not surprisingly, because Mercury's in retrograde, and that's exactly what it's designed to do. Things have been coming up for you to reshuffle and resort and sift through, and it's a good time to examine your feelings, your internal and your subconscious feelings, to get an idea if maybe your perspective on some things has changed. And sometimes, too, when we have dreams about something, someone was just talking about this in the Patreon and our Discord, when we have dreams about exes, when we have dreams about people from our past or jobs from our past or situations from our past, we're like, what does this mean? I'm going to be honest with you, 99% of the time, it's not a special magical psychic message. It's your psychology telling you, this used to be important to me. And when it starts coming up out of the blue, often it means that you have some processing work that you can do, and that's good. It allows you to move forward a little bit. I know someone on our Patreon, on our Discord server, was like, what does it mean? I dreamed about this X. Any ideas? And, you know, it might mean that it's time for you to think about how you feel. And you can, like, I kind of do this when I have dreams like that about an ex, especially an ex that doesn't go well. I'm like, well, how do I feel? Have my feelings changed about this person? And you know what? Sometimes I have to be honest with myself and be like, they haven't, and I feel weird that I'm still having feelings about this situation that ended years ago, right? Because you know what? We're human and our past affects us. Like, we're all allowed to realize we're affected by our childhood, right? We're affected by traumatic situations. We're affected by our old jobs. So yeah, of course we're going to still be affected by someone who is very precious to us at an earlier stage of our life. That doesn't mean we made the wrong choice in not being with them anymore necessarily. It just means that we're human beings and we're affected. So, Grayson, to bring it back to you, the moon is here, and specifically I want to talk to you about your self-image. I want to draw your attention to this imagery on the card, which shows, it's really cute. It's a little cat looking into the reflection in the water, and what they see is a big cat. What they see is like a big, dangerous panther. And what I want to ask you is your perception of yourself distorted? And I'll go ahead and answer for you. Of course it is, because all of our perceptions of ourselves are distorted, right? We never actually get a fully clear view. Because there's too much emotion and too much psychology involved in it. So what I want to ask you to do, though, is just like travel along the spiral path. Realize that there's something to be learned about you and your self-image and your sense of self right now. And you can level up a little bit. You can have a healthier perspective, especially on yourself. So whatever's coming up from your past right now, think about it. Do yourself the service of thinking about it and relating to it in whatever way you feel compelled to, because that will teach you some things. Ondine on Instagram is saying, actually, Mercury is an inner planet. Right, Mercury is an inner planet. I think what you were saying is, and the outer planets are in retrograde. Jupiter and Saturn are considered social planets. Uranus through Pluto are the outers. That's interesting. Although I could see how, if it's further out than Earth, then it's an outer planet. Like, I could get that. Although I don't know, my very educated mother, we don't need to do this. I don't know very much about astrology. I yield to the experts. I return to my former statements. A bunch of stuff's in retrograde. Stuff's wonky. That's all you need to know. Hello. Ishika, hello, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, I know I have, I think, 2 more patrons to read for, then I'm going to get to your requests, people who dropped meows in the chats, and I'm going to try to speed up my vibe a little bit. Let me start with a little bit of water. Hydration checkpoint, make sure you're staying hydrated, always a good idea. Okay, next up, we have my friend Lisa Diana, who is a patron and posted, I'd like to know, should I continue my chaplain training at Lenox Hill or cut my losses before it's too late? So let's take a look and see. Oh, and you know, I usually try not to do too much like identifying stuff, so I'm sorry about that. The question is, chaplain training, continue or cut losses? So let's pull a card about that. The card here is the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is a card about you and your happiness and self-fulfillment, finding fulfillment within yourself as you are right now, appreciating yourself and appreciating your competence as well as the blessings you have brought for yourself. This is a card where we talked about how the Nine of Swords can be a sign that you need to change your mind, right? That you need to like accept things as they are and ask yourself how you can continue to thrive anyway. And the Nine of Cups is a sign that you did it. You changed your mind, right? And you have found that inner glow. You've found that inner happiness that supports you and carries you through life. So what I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw the question back to you, just like any good therapist. I want to ask you what feels like what's going to make you happiest. I want you to earnestly consider this from a perspective of your happiness. And at the end of the day, I want to remind you that that's what matters. What matters is your happiness. All the other stuff, all the practical stuff, all like, well, what's going to make me more money? Or, you know, what's going to, you know, all those practical questions. What's going to fit in better with my life? What will people think about it, right? All of that stuff can contribute to your happiness, but you know what? You can figure it out. If you decide something's not working for you, you figure out the other stuff. So I want to ask you, What's going to make you feel happy and self-fulfilled? What is going to affect your self-worth and your image in a positive way? I want you to project yourself into the future, maybe a year, and imagine that you had stepped away, and also imagine that you had continued the training. And let's assume, for the sake of it, that the training went well, that you found your way through it because you are a competent person, right, who knows how to thrive and knows how to grow where she's planted. So let's assume in both situations that you found a way to get your basic needs met, right? I want to ask you, which situation do you see yourself happier in? And that's your choice. That's the choice that the cards are recommending to you. I don't tell people what to do. I always refer people back to their inner wisdom, but I try to bring the perspective that will help them make that decision. Oh, I misheard or only partially heard her. It might be me. You know, it might be me being a bad translator. Okay, Himani, I did see your request. Don't worry, I'll get to you. I'm getting to people in order. I'm watching on Facebook and Twitch, and Facebook just kicked me, but I'm back here. Well, what are you going to do? I know you're here. As long as you're tuned in, I'm a happy camper. All right. We got one more patron, and then I'm going to just go down the list of people who meowed. Okay, I have one more question. Would you mind pulling a card for me? I'm looking for gentle next steps. This is for Brittany. Brittany, absolutely. Gentle next steps. First of all, I just want to tell you how much I love that as a question. I love that as a question to the universe, right? Not, is he going to get in touch with me, or what should I do? Gentle next steps, right? Because we have our own agenda, and we should, because we're people who care about things, right? We should have our own plans. We should know what we want and know what's important to us. But gentle next steps is a wonderful way to say, like, I want guidance. It's not going to knock me on my butt, but it's going to help me make my decisions. I love it. Gentle next steps. Let's do it. Lisa Diana says, thank you. Got to go help Mom. Well, great. Hello to your mother. And have a wonderful day. You're so welcome. By the way, everyone, this replay always stays up. So if you ask a question, I'll pull a card, whether you're still tuned in or not. And it'll, you'll see it on the replay. So I don't want anyone to ever feel stressed, like, oh, I asked for a card, but what if I don't get to see it? It's okay. There's a replay. Brittany, here are your gentle next steps for you. We have the 7 of Pentacles. Your gentle next steps right now are to reflect on where you're at and reflect on what you've been doing, and ask yourself if anything actually needs to change. Sometimes no. I know that, like me, you are a business owner, and also like me, you're a creative person. So I want to apply this message to whatever you feel is trying to grow in your life, which is probably multiple things if you're like most of us. And I want you to reflect on where you started and where you're at now. Sometimes if you're in the home stretch, if you're on a good trajectory but you're on a plateau, it can feel like you're making no progress at all. And that's not true. What's happening is the growth is happening internally and we don't see it, right? When we plant a seed, it takes, in some cases, like weeks for the seed to come up. We have to keep watering it. We have to keep the soil conditions right. We're doing all this work and we're seeing nothing. But that doesn't mean that our work is not important. The seed is under the ground. It's like busy, it's doing this internal stuff. It has to win an internal victory before it can have the external victory. So I want you to consider what internal victories may be happening if you're not seeing progress, and to honor those internal victories by continuing to just show up. That doesn't mean show up harder. It means continuing to show up in the responsible way that you have already been doing, and trust that you're showing up in this responsible, consistent way. Giving your best doesn't mean over-giving. It means really giving what you have each day in good faith. That you're continuing to show up in good faith every day is going to yield the results that you want. This is also a great time to ask yourself what results you do want. A good time to check in and say, here are the things I've been nurturing in my life. How do I feel about all of those? If there are some areas where you're like, I don't care anymore, it's okay to step back. If there are areas where you're like, oh, I'd like to pivot my focus a little bit, it's fine to do that. As long as you're showing up daily in good faith for your growth, meaning you're giving your best that you have that day. Not the best on some external measurement, the best that you have to give that day. And we all know some days that's 2 minutes. Sometimes that's us like going, okay, I care about this. I just don't have time to think about it right now. And sometimes it's an hour. And sometimes it's saying like, I really have time to put in some work and time on this goal, right? it's good both days. That's your best, and that's okay. Okay, I see we've got another spammer. What an exciting day. And we're going to block him. I'm so sorry about the Facebook I'm so sorry about this Facebook spam. I know a couple of you got tagged. I want you to know I blocked that person. So no more of you should get tagged. You can feel free to block them yourself as an individual if you desire. Good meowing, Anna. How are you? All right, so those are my patron cards. I think the next two people were Emily and Neva. I'm going to pull cards for both of you. Emily, here is your card. Your card is the Lovers. My goodness, Emily. I want to ask you what lights you up and makes you feel passionate and excited and sexy. Dare I say it? I want to ask you what makes you feel this way. Because right now, you are meant to lean into loving, deep connection. And this can mean with another person, absolutely. It can also mean like loving, deep connection with yourself, like showing up for yourself in a loving way, right? Taking ourselves in dates, showing up for what we need. It can also mean showing up for a passion, just something that you're really excited about, like a passionate interest of yours. I want to ask you what makes you feel this way, and I want you to lean into it for the coming weeks. Right now, you are meant to learn through joy, not suffering. I'm going to say it again. You are meant to learn through joy, not suffering. I want you to remember that. I want you to like put it on your lock screen or something so you remember right now your teacher is joy, not suffering. It's easy to look for the lesson in suffering, but sometimes what we have to look for is the opportunity to find joy. Let's challenge the assumption that all our lessons have to be hard. They don't. Okay, Neva, I'm pulling a card for you next. Oh, you're super welcome. Neva, here is your card. Your card is the King of Cups. Neva, I want to talk. You have a couple of men and boys, I should say, as someone with two young boys who just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Brody and Caleb. Yep, King of Cups. I want to tell you that the King of Cups is about that. He's the king of your heart, so to speak, right? And I think you have a few kings of your heart. And the King of Cups also leads with his heart, not by his heart, right? He allows his emotions to be these wise guides for him. He turns to them and reflects their wisdom and really like appreciates them. Instead of feeling frustrated by what he feels, he celebrates it. He's like, what I feel is important and it has an important message for me. So I want to encourage you to lean into that wisdom, lean into the wisdom of your emotions. And I also want to encourage you to lean into your relationships with those people, with those men in your life who are the king of your hearts. Men and boys, I should say, because happy birthday to your kids. This is a good time to learn through relationship. That's how we learn. We get hurt in relationship, right? We've all had people who hurt us and that taught us something in a negative way, and we also learn through healing relationships. And now you have an opportunity for healing in relationships. This will teach you not just about your relationship, but about yourself. It will help you both show up better in the relationship and show up better for yourself. It will teach you about who you are. It will teach you about what's important to you. Right now, what teaches you most is leaning into those core relationships and allowing yourself to feel your way through them with love and trusting that if you show up with love, that things are going to work out. Even if it's bumpy along the way, show up with love, it's going to work out. That is really key for you right now. I'm getting a little bit of a theme so far. We're getting like a lot of stuff is wonky. Things are in retrograde. This is a time for us to ask ourselves what it feels like to show up with love and good faith every day and trust the process. There's a trust vibe and there's a learning through joy and learning through love vibe today. So I want you to ask yourself, can I learn in a way that feels great? And can I trust that that's just as good as the lesson that really tore me to pieces? Because we've all had those lessons, right? We've all had them. All right, let's see who else is on the docket. I know a bunch of people. I'm looking at Instagram first. Okay, Ondine, and then Mary Jane, And then that seems to be it for Instagram, and then I'll move over to everyone else. Just because they're two different feeds, so don't worry, I'll get to you. Time for another hydration checkpoint. Cheers, everybody. If you tuned in recently and you missed it, the card for everybody is the Nine of Swords today. The Nine of Swords indicates that it's a time for, we're having a long dark night of the soul. What's making you anxious? What's stressing you out, right? Everyone's having it. It's not just you. So be aware, everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about, like they say on the memes on the Facebook. Everyone is fighting an internal battle right now. And I want to ask you what you can change to give yourself more joy and less anxiety. And sometimes that means changing our approach. Sometimes it's a practical change. Sometimes we're like, you know what, doing this would make it work, so I'll do this. Sometimes it's an internal change, right? Sometimes we change our minds. The universe is encouraging you to do that, is encouraging you to take the role in reducing your stress. Sometimes we're like, oh, well, I'll be less stressed out when this happens, right? I'm guilty. When this changes, I'll definitely be less stressed out. I wish it would change. Well, you know what? We're in charge. We're driving the bus on our lives. We have to choose to reduce stress in our lives and look for ways to do that. Whether or not they're the ways we would have picked, it's our job. We got to show up for the work, right? All right. Ondine, here is your card. Your card is the Nine of Pentacles. I feel like this is like so your vibe. And it's funny because I know you're a water sign, but you have this well of stability that comes from you being great at the practical stuff, great at showing up for yourself, showing up for your health, showing up for your stability, your emotional regulation, showing up for your home life. Nine of Pentacles is really encouraging you. We have so many nines today. What a nine vibe. It's encouraging you to reflect on what you have created for yourself and appreciate it and appreciate you in particular. If you're feeling weak, if you're feeling powerless, this is a very good time to look back and ask yourself, as I asked with the Seven of Pentacles, is the growth not happening, or is it inner growth that's happening and that's why I can't see it on the surface, right? I want you to look back and look for evidence of that inner growth. I want you to look for small pieces and big pieces of evidence. I want you to look at how your life has changed both on a physical, obvious level and on an energetic level. How were you feeling 1 year ago today? And how is that different from how you feel today? And what were you experiencing 1 year ago today? And how is that different from what you're experiencing today? It's a little bit, like those magazines they used to have in the kids' doctor office, like find the difference between these pictures. I want you to look at what has changed in your life, and I want you to congratulate yourself on the positive changes you have brought, and I want you to know, I want you to take a moment to internalize that that's a pattern, that you are always improving your life, that you are always looking after these important parts of your life, and that you got this, you got your own back, and you are able to have the power to make these changes. They may be slower than you want, they may be different than you imagined in your head, but truthfully, that reflects more on your resilience, which I know is a tough word, because sometimes we're like, I don't want to have to be resilient. I know. But you know what? It is a good skill to have. And your adaptability, your ability to say, even though there are changes, I'm still going to give myself a good life. That is a skill you cannot buy. That is very important. So I want you to congratulate yourself, and I want you to understand that all the positive things that have wrought in your life that you are tasked with listing and appreciating right now are you. You are the driving force between those positive changes, and I want you to appreciate yourself and know that you can keep doing it, and you are doing it, even subconsciously right now as you go through your day. It's something that you have a natural gift for. So celebrate this natural gift and have some faith. Faith is a buzzword for us. Have some faith that as you go through these days, you will naturally be improving things, even if you can't see how to do it right now. Mary Jane, here is a card for you. I want to let y'all know, if you have already requested a card, I got you. New requests are closed at this time because I'm looking at the time and I do have a hard stop at 12. So if you've already requested, don't worry, I got you. Mary Jane, here is your card. You have also received the moon. Mary Jane, I want you to ask yourself, what is the biggest you can be and what is the smallest you can be? I want you to have this healthy perspective of yourself. And if I'm phrasing that in a weird way, let me reframe it. We all know that quote, that Marilyn Monroe quote that goes around, if you can't handle me at my best, at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best, right? What's your worst? What's your best? Because we are all of the things in between, right? Like, we are a spectrum. It's like, am I a good person? Like, you're every kind of person. I'm every woman. You are your worst and you are your best. And this is not me trying to diminish you, because even when you're at your very worst, you have the capacity for your best within you. And sometimes, in fact, I would say often, when we are at our worst, when we have breakdowns, when we act out of character, when we say things or do things that we're like, oh God, why did I do that? Often it's because our internal compass is telling us that something is up. Often it's because our internal compass is like, you know what, you're not on the right path now, and things need to change, and you need to shock yourself into making that change. So I want to ask you, where are you right now on that spectrum, right? Of biggest you to smallest you, whatever that means to you. Where are you? How are you feeling? And where do you want to be? I mean, I guess we all want to be at our best, right? But it's an opportunity to look within. It's an opportunity to do some healing of our inner child, to do some healing around our trauma, to know that even when we are at our smallest and our most hopeless, we have this great capacity. It's all us. It's not, like, it's us. It's all within us. So I want you to remember, if you're struggling with something, that you have the capacity of you at your very best within you. And I want you to ask yourself too, like, are there things that I can do to up that capacity, right? Like, you know what? If we're constantly overworking, I'm talking to myself right now. If we're constantly overworking and stressing ourselves out and overdoing it, then we're going to be at our worst, or we're going to be at a lower version than our best, certainly, right? Because we need to replenish our energy in order to give out our best energy. So what are the things you can do to raise yourself on that spectrum, to meet your potential? Because that's what it all is. It's potential until you act it out. So, like, treat it like a journey and have fun playing with your perspective of yourself right now. You have something to learn right now about you, about who you are, and about your potential and what is possible for you. And usually that means it's that you can be bigger, it's that you can have more of an impact than you believe or fear you can have. All right, let's see who's on deck. I know we got a lot of people. Who has tuned in? All right, we got Undine, we got Lisa Diana. Judith, it is time for you, my darling. It is your time to have a cat, to have a card. Both things. I don't know if you guys noticed. I'm using the Everyday Witch Tarot today. There's a cat on every card. It's not about cats. It's not a cat deck, but there's always a cat. There's always a cat. Look at that. That's not your card. That's just me showing off the cat. Look at that. There's always a cat. It's great. It's nice to think of us going through our lives and always having a companion. And, I know a lot of people are dog people. I'm a cat person through and through. I like that my companion is like, sometimes going to be obnoxious. Because that's life. That's real. We learn through relationship. And I learned through relationship with my adorable, furry death muffin, Kaylee. Judith, here comes your card. By the way, hello, Hannah. How are you? I see that you tuned in. Oh my gosh. All the spammers today. I am blocking another user. This is more spammers than we've ever had. And I don't think it's us, because we've been pretty, we haven't used any weird keywords, but whatever. It happens. Goodbye. You blocked. If you're being approached by a spammer, I encourage you to block them yourself. I want you to know I'm blocking them from this channel so they can't keep harassing people. Mary Jane says, makes sense, thanks. Good. Judith, for real, I'm pulling a card for you now. Here's your card. Judith, your card is the Six of Pentacles. This is all about giving and receiving. And it's about a word that I have not been shy about, the fact that I have a problem with this word, balance, because balance is an active thing. It's not like, oh, I'm imbalanced. balance now. It's like, that's pretend. If you're like, I'm good, I'm in balance, then you're lying to yourself and you're spiritual bypassing, because we're never meant to be in balance. We are in constant motion, right? Balance is a momentary state when the seesaw is perfectly aligned, and it's cool, and it's a cool feeling. And you know what? Then we got to get off the seesaw at some point and like go live our lives. So we're not meant to stay in perfect balance all the time. That's like, that's not being alive. You know, like, you need to go through push and pull and changes and ebb and flow in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to become the person that you are meant to be. The person you're meant to be is not someone in perfect magical balance. It's somebody who has grown and loved and hurt and experienced many different things and discovered their strengths through doing all of those things. Anyway, rant over. Am I talking to myself a little bit with this? Absolutely. We all got to learn this. Sometimes, if you ever find yourself ranting and giving people advice, check yourself and ask yourself if you're giving yourself advice, because sometimes it's something you really need to hear. All right. Six of Pentacles, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the balance between what you are putting out and what you are receiving. This is the way my grandmother used to describe it to me, who was a very gifted reading, is that there needs to be an exchange. And she talked about this when people would ask about, like, if it was okay to charge for readings, that kind of thing. And she's like, there's an exchange. I'm giving energy. You don't have to give back the exact same kind of energy to me, but I'm giving you something. It's fair and reasonable for it to be an exchange. I can't always be giving myself with nothing in return, right? So I want you to take those words to heart. There needs to be an exchange in your relationships, in your work relationships, in other situations of your life, just in like kind of your broad relationship with the universe, right? If you're always giving and it feels like the universe is always taking, something's going on. Something's going on there. And sometimes it's us that has to change, right? Because if we're in a toxic relationship with a person where it's like all take and no give on their side, well, then we're like, I'm going to take a step back, right? Hopefully, if we're healthy, we're like, okay, I'm going to give a little less, you know, because I only have so much and you keep depleting me. So this is the thing for you to mull over now, is the giving and the receiving. It's on a very practical level. So it's not just about money. Pentacles are about money, but it's about energy. It's about showing up. It's about, you know, being neighborly, being friendly, being generous to people, whatever that means to you. And there does need to be an exchange. It doesn't need to be the same thing, right? It doesn't need to be like, well, I give you $20 this week and you give me $20 back next week or whatever, right? It just means that both parties and whatever relationship you're in, whether it's with yourself, with others, with your loved ones, with a work relationship, there needs to be an exchange that feels sustainable. So that's your homework. Your homework is to think about that right now. Good meowing. If you just tuned in, I may or may not get to you because we're late in the game and I do have a hard stop at 12. So I'm sorry if I do not get to you. And I'm going to be in my integrity here and not play favorites about it. All right, let's see. Who else do we have? Okay, Himani, tell me about my health and marriage. Okay, are you married or are you getting married or are you hoping to get married? I want to make sure I understand the situation. Because what I see is, it says, yeah, I'm not sure what that means. Health and marriage, I'm not sure if maybe that's just me not knowing the terminology or something. But let me pull a card for you. And let's see what it says. Health and marriage. Okay. Your card is the Fool. You are served right now by leaping in. Whatever that means to you. Right now, the Fool is about trusting that the universe has your back. As you can see, this person in this card is literally about to leap off a cliff. She's got a broom. Is she going to fly? Is she going to fall? She's going to trust. She is going to trust in herself as well as in the universe. That the universe has, that the universe has her back as well as she has her own back. That if things don't work out, that she has the wisdom and strength and not stability, what's the word I'm looking for? Adaptability to work it out, right? So this is a time of great faith. This is a time where it helps you to have faith. This is our buzzword for the day. There's a lot of faith involved, and I want to take ourselves back. I'm talking to everybody right now just for a minute. Our card for everyone this week was the Nine of Swords. It is about what we're scared of. It's about our anxiety. And I suggested at the beginning of this broadcast that sometimes what needs to change is our minds. We need to make a change. We need to say, I'm going to show up and figure out how to be happy, even if this nonsense is stressing me out. And I'm going to suggest that maybe the change we need to have is faith. And that's an uncomfortable word for a lot of people. It's an uncomfortable word for me as someone who is not like a member of a major religion, and faith is often in this country associated with Christianity, and that just doesn't ring my bell personally. But you can have faith that things will work out. Non-denominational faith is what I'm talking about, and I'm talking about faith in yourself. So maybe the choice we make is faith. So what I wanted to take it back to you, Himani, is right now, take a leap of faith and know that the universe will have your back and you will have your back, and one way or another things are going to work out. Lean into your trust at this time. I see a couple people tuning in right now, and I want to let you know, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm about to close the broadcast. I think I have time I made a cutoff point, and I remember where it was. I have time for the people who came in before the cutoff point. You were one of them, Anna, so I do have you. Everyone else, I'm sorry. So let me scroll up and just make sure I'm right about, and not missing anyone. Anna and Lana were the two last people before I cut off the cards. I see some surprising comments from Twitch. Where is somewhere when everywhere is somewhere? Is that a question? Or is it a statement? I don't know. Maybe it's a Buddhist koan. I'm going to let y'all think about it. Where is somewhere when everywhere is somewhere? I'm going to let y'all just... There you go. That's a great user icon, by the way. I enjoy that dog face. All right, Anna and Lana. Everyone else, I'm sorry, I cannot. I do have a hard stop, so I cut things off at about 1:45 today, knowing how many people I could get to. So I encourage you to please tune in the future. I usually do this at 11 a.m. Eastern, the last Saturday of the month. So if you show up around 11 a.m. Eastern time, that's New York time. If you need a city, then you'll be able to get your card pulled, because I really do want to read for you. I just also have the rest of my day to get to. Oh, that's my dog. Her name is Daisy. Well, what a great dog. I support Daisy. All right, Anna, here is your card. Then we have Lana, and then we are going to close out the broadcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this. Okay, Anna, your card is the Ace of Cups. Okay, this is big. This is big, and I could sense, too, that, this is long time coming energy for you. Emotional renewal is where it's at. Let's talk about our buzzwords today, because we had the Nine of Swords. We had this sense of, the things stressing us, right? And this suggestion that maybe faith is the change. And I'm not talking about faith in I'm not even talking about higher power faith. I'm just talking about faith in yourself, faith that you've gotten yourself this far and you can keep getting yourself this far, as well as faith that things work out. That if you keep showing up in good faith, if you keep showing up and doing your best earnestly, that things work out ultimately in the end. That's the kind of faith I am talking about. So we have, that's what I'm going to give to you as a takeaway, because we have the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is a beautiful card of emotional renewal. And I want to tell you that we have a choice when we get this moment of emotional renewal. It can be a feeling of wow, I'm so renewed and replenished for 5 minutes, or it can really carry us through and change our lives. We can learn through joy, or we can learn through suffering, right? If we want to learn through joy, we are required to adopt some faith. We are required to look at our joyful moments and say to ourselves, I can have more of this, and I'm worthy of more of this, and I'm going to do what I take to get more of this because I like it. We are required to show up for ourselves to learn from joy. So I want I want to ask you to highlight your own joy in the coming weeks. I know not everything is joyful, but I also know not everything is miserable, right? You know, even when I'm having a miserable day, someone can show me a picture of a cat doing something stupid and it cheers me up a little bit. So I want you to acknowledge your moments of joy, and I want you to celebrate them, and I want you to count on the fact that you can have more and you can keep giving yourself more of them. And what we focus on grows. I'm going to say that again. It's important. What we focus on grows. This is not me telling you to spiritual bypass and pretend there have no problems in your life. No, we all got problems. It's real. This is just me telling you that if you've been struggling emotionally, that what we focus on grows. And when we focus on following the joy, there becomes more joy for us to follow. Just like if we're driving in traffic and we look for yellow cars, we start seeing more and more of them. If you're in New York, it's a taxi, and you want to be careful because they're not very good drivers all the time. All right. I got one more card, Lana. This is your card, and then that's going to be it for today. I want to thank you all so much for being a part of this, and I want to, at this moment, before I play your card, Lana, I want to just talk to everyone and let you know that I love getting to do this. I do this on the last Saturday of every month. I also have a podcast called Sassafras Cast, all one word, Sassafras Cast. You can search for it on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you find a podcast. I'm actually going to be putting out that podcast in the next few days, probably look for it like Tuesday, a new episode. And I do larger readings. I have been on hiatus for a lot of the summer because it's been a very busy time, but as we move into the fall and winter months, I tend to have more time for that. So I do have an Etsy link. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and post all my links in the chat for you. If you're on Instagram, you can find all my links on the link in my bio. It's a link of links. So you can find everything. If you would like to throw some love into the virtual tip jar, I am thankful for you. These are offered freely, so there's no expectation, but I am thankful for you if you do choose to do that. I'm going to post that link in the chat. If you would like to order a full reading from me, you can at Etsy. I'm posting that link too. And if you'd like to be a patron, patrons get to skip the line. As you saw, I read for the patrons first, as well as get access to an exclusive community where we talk about this stuff. We talk about growth and showing up and fun witchy stuff. It's a really good vibe. So if you would like to be a patron, that link is also in the chat now. And also, if you're on Instagram, it's at the link in my bio, all three of those links. Hopefully that went through. That's a kind of long comment. All right, Lana, I'm pulling a card for you. This will be our last card. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of my world, everybody. Lana, your card is the 10 of Cups. Let's talk about family first. That's buzzwords right now. And again, we're talking about a focus on joy. I want to just reflect this. I'm talking to everyone right now. There have been a lot of 9s and 10s. I've been seeing this since last month when I did a big day of reading for a whole lot of people in one day. It was at an event where 9s and 10s are coming up, aces are coming up. And what this means is that for many of us, cycles are ending and cycles are beginning, right? So there are many different cycles in our lives at any time, right? Some of them are going to be fresh and some of them are going to be old, right? So many people are starting school fresh. People may be walking away from an old relationship or old position that no longer serves them. We are experiencing a real big transition time of endings and beginnings. That means that our lives 6 months from now may be unrecognizable. And I want to affirm that it can be unrecognizable for the better. When you have a fresh start, you have a fresh start, right? You have the opportunity to change your mind as well as change yourself to create and pull more joy into your life. So what I want to share with you, now I'm back to you, Lana. 10 of Cups, right now, you want to reflect on your loving family relationships, family and chosen family, those who you know have your back and who you would do anything for, right? Those kind of core relationships. Those are the relationships where so much joy and so much learning can be had right now. It's a good time to be grateful, and it's a good time to focus your gratitude on your relationships, to focus your gratitude both on the difficult things and the positive things. What have your relationships taught you? Because every time I've had a rough time with someone, whether we've remained in relationship or not, it has taught me something, right? So I want you to focus your gratitude on your relationships and focus your loving energy on the relationships and try to bring that energy to them. Perhaps if you go into your loving core relationships this week with an attitude of, I have something to learn from each of you, you will. it's amazing how when we make that suggestion to ourselves, when we say, I have something to learn from this person, this is an important person in my life that can teach me something, then we do. So I want that to be your kind of universe school this week. That's your focus. Your loving relationships can teach you and bring you a great deal of joy. And again, we can learn from joy. I'm going to put that out to everyone. We can learn through joy. Learning does not have to be through suffering. We've done a lot of learning through suffering in the last couple years, right? Like as a society, we can learn through joy. That's a key message. And one of the things that helps us learn through joy is cultivating a sense of faith. Faith in ourselves and faith that if we continue to show up earnestly, that things will work out. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this. I love you all. I love this community that we share. I will be back next month. Save the date, last Saturday of October at 11 a.m. New York time. That's Eastern time. I can't wait to read for you again. Have a wonderful, everybody. Have a great weekend.